in. All right. All right. Happy Tuesday, y'all. Welcome to Who's Getting Sued this week. This is my weekly live show where I teach you business and legal concepts using pop culture and celebrity news. If you are new, my name is Natalie Pierre-Lewis. I am the owner of NPL Consulting LLC, a business formation firm. What that means is I help people like yourself get your business paperwork together. So things like making sure you have your business paperwork, your articles of incorporation, making sure you have your EIN numbers and DUNS numbers, making sure you have your contract template for clients and partners, making sure you have your trademarks so that people don't steal your brands out from under your nose. I help you do all of that, okay? So if you're interested in any of that, go to the link in my bio. I do provide free 15-minute consultations. But as well, I come on here every week and I teach the same concepts using pop culture and celebrity news. So last week when we were on here, we talked about Ben and Jerry, or Jerry from Ben and Jerry's, leaving the company after 47 years because, hey, Ramunish, because he said that their new parent company, because they merged with Unilever, which does, the Magnum ice creams, he said that they had an agreement that Unilever was supposed to let them continue with their activism, but they weren't letting him, so he left the company. We also talked about this new AI program that has come out called Sora 2. It's been released by OpenAI, and it is getting a lot of flack because it's ripping off, characters that already exist and violating a lot of copyrights from big Hollywood houses. We talked about this was an old story, but we talked about the Cabbage Patch Kids versus the Garbage Pail Kids, okay? And how that turned out. This was a story from way back in the 80s. And we also talked about these AI Bollywood videos that had to be taken down because they were deep fakes of people who were actual actors, and they were like, this is not us, okay? So those were just some of the things that we covered last week, but we have a whole new set of stories for y'all this week, okay? Let me get the first picture up here. Has anybody watching, if you have flown any type of Virgin Airlines, be it Virgin American, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Airways, if you've ever flown Virgin, some type of Virgin flight, the Virgin Group flight, give me a V in the comments, okay? Now, it was probably a very long time ago when you did this because they don't actually, the company itself, Virgin Group, does not necessarily fly those planes. What happened, they sold the rights to the name for their airline to a bunch of different airlines, including Alaska Airlines, okay? So in 2016, or between 2016 and 2018, Alaska Airlines acquired the name Virgin America, and they agreed to pay the Virgin Group $8 million a year. Hey, Brittany, they agreed to pay the Virgin Group $8 million a year to be able, excuse me, to be able to use the name Virgin America. Okay, now this is in 2018. The contract was to go from 2016 through 2039, but soon you remember Virgin Records? Yeah, it was all the same company. That guy, I forget his name. It was some rich British guy. He owned all that stuff. Oh, thank you, Brittany. Why would it block a hey boo hey? Like, y'all just be trying to do my bit wrong, okay? Anyway, so they were supposed to pay Virgin America or Virgin Group $8 million a year, but 2 years into the agreement, Alaska Airlines stopped using the name. They weren't using the Virgin America, so they said, well, since we're not using it, we're not going to pay you anymore. And Virgin America said, girl, you signed a contract through 2039. You better run us our coin. So they went to court. They sued Alaska Airlines. And Alaska Airlines has, they've been battling back and forth over the last few years till finally, just a couple of weeks ago, the High Court said that Alaska Airlines has to pay Virgin Group $160 million in royalties. Ladies and gentlemen, when you sign a contract, that's why you put it on paper, okay? Because sometimes people are going to change their mind and they're going to be like, well, I don't want to do this anymore. But if you have a contract that says that you're supposed to do this, they're going to have, you can, and they don't do it, that's when you can take them to court, okay? Alaska Airlines made this very long contract in almost an over 20-year contract, and then tried to get out of it, after 2 years. And you promised to pay them $8 million a year to use that name, okay? Now, you're not using it, fine, but because you paid for usage for all of those years, Virgin Group can't take that name and go lease it to another company. So you're basically trying to hold them hostage, hold that name hostage, and you don't want to pay them their money. So the court sided with the Virgin Group and said, Alaska Airlines, you're gonna run Virgin Group $160 million because you're wrong. You signed that contract and you have to you have to honor it. Now, keep in mind, when you are suing someone for breach of contract, you cannot sue for specific performance, meaning you cannot sue them to do the action, right? So Virgin American or the Virgin Group, they couldn't say, Alaska Airlines, you have to put our name on your planes. But what they can do is collect that money that they were owed. Okay, so again, a lot of you out here trying to run businesses. If you're gonna have contracts, please have them written out and have an attorney like myself help you. Okay. All right. That was our first story. Let me remove this photo. Thank you for the gift, Brittany. Friends, you're watching Who's Getting Sued this week, where we talk about, all of your favorite celebrities and their faux pas, and we use their mistakes to strengthen our knowledge as business owners. Okay. Why is this not up? Okay, my people on TikTok and Instagram, you can't see this, but I just put up a picture of the classic Coca-Cola bottle, okay? And I'm going to give you guys a task. When you hear classic Coca-Cola bottle, yes, thank you for that compliment, Brittany. When you hear Coca-Cola classic bottle, the classic bottle, I want y'all to find me, DM me a picture of a Coca-Cola classic bottle. And the first 3 people to hit my inbox across these 3 platforms, you will get a free 30-minute consultation with me, because I'm trying to demonstrate something here. When you hear Coca-Cola classic bottle, send me an image of what you think of. Okay. All right. Now, why am I doing this? Because I want you guys to be aware of the fact that 3D trademarks are a thing. When we think of trademarks, we think of a logo, we think of a name, but sometimes the shape of your goods, the shape of your product can be a trademark in and of itself. Again, think about the Coca-Cola bottle. Think about the Toblerone, that long chocolate thing, that shape, that 3D shape is protected. Think about the shape of Legos, right? So a lot of you're very creative out here. And as long as the shape is not integral to how your product works. So with the Coca-Cola bottle, right? The Coca-Cola bottle, it's a very distinct shape, but it has nothing to do with how Coca-Cola is made. You could put it in a plastic cup, the Coca-Cola is still made the same, but that shape lets you know what the brand is. The Toblerone, right? That shape, the shape has nothing to do with the taste of the chocolate. And then for Legos, that shape, the shape of the different things, what really matters is that underside, those interlocking things, right? So as intellectual property becomes more complex because more and more people are out here trying to, stake their claim, you're going to want to think about, how is your product designed? Is your product designed in such a way that it is unique, that the shape is recognizable, and that it can stand out on its own? Okay, so we've already talked about Coca-Cola. We've talked about Toblerone, and we talked about Legos. Do you guys have any other examples of products that, their shape alone, that is integral to the brand? The shape tells you what the brand is, the packaging, things like that. All right. Give me some examples in the comments. But why I am asking you to do this is because I want you to think outside the box as we move forward with technology and things happening. You're going to have to become more inventive with how you make your brand stand out in the marketplace. All right. Okay. Okay. So I just wanted to let you guys know about 3D trademarks. Okay. Do we have any questions about that? Do we have any questions about 3D trademarks before we move on to our next story? Excuse me. Okay. How many of you guys watch Bravo? If you watch Bravo, what are you saying? Nope to, Brown Newness. You don't know any? Okay. If you watch Bravo, please give me a TV emoji in the comments. If you watch Bravo TV, give me a TV emoji in the comments. Okay. And on Bravo TV, there is a show called Vanderpump Rules. Oh. Okay. Okay. You watch Bravo? So do you watch Vanderpump Rules, Round Noonish? Anybody here on the TikTok? Anybody here on the YouTubes and the Facebooks? Does anybody here watch Vanderpump Rules? If you're not familiar, there was a cast member from one of the Real Housewives franchise. And, she broke off. She got her own spin-off show called Vanderpump Rules, where she runs a restaurant or a hotel or something. I'm not sure. You used to run news? Okay. Well, anyway, as you know, Bravo has created their own brand of celebrities. They actually call them Bravo celebrities. These people, because of their appearance on Bravo, they have their own followings. They have people who want to invest in them, things like that. So from Vanderpump Rules, there were two castmates, Katie Maloney and Ariana Madix. They opened a sandwich shop called Something About Her in West Hollywood. Anybody Round Noonish? I don't know. Did you watch Vanderpump Rules at all? Do you remember the castmates, Katie and Ariana? Anybody else here who may be watching what they're watching live, or you're watching the rerun? Let me know if you are familiar with these castmates from Vanderpump Rules. Okay, so these two girls, or women, I should say, they go to open a sandwich shop. They make a deal with a chef, and a chef by the name of Penny DeViti, and Chef Penny DeViti, she said that she was promised 10% equity in the company of the sandwich shop as director of culinary and chief operating officer, and a starting salary of $7,500 a month, increasing to $10,000 a month. Okay. So she's saying that their original agreement was that it was going to be joint development, joint ownership, and she was going to have a piece of the pie in everything. She says that Katie and Ariana did not honor their agreement, and they said we never had that agreement. So the chef ended up dismissing the lawsuit under undisclosed conditions. And the two girls from Vanderpump Rules, they said, well, Katie and they said that they had disagreements because of finances. Penny, the chef, wanted partnership in the company, and they were like, we did not want her as a partner. We wanted her as an employee. We were going to pay her a salary and 10% of profits for that single location. Okay. Now, because of that lawsuit, the restaurant for these two girls, it was getting held up in the courts, but they can go forward. But again, this is why it's important for when you're working with someone, if you're starting a business and especially a restaurant, you want to let people know what their position is. Are you an owner? Are you a partner? Are you an employee? Are you an investor? And you can lay that out in contracts. Everybody needs to know what the role is. I don't know where this chef got the idea that they were going to be part owners in the sandwich shop. But from what I know, unless a chef starts a restaurant by themselves, they don't usually get ownership of the restaurant. Have you guys ever heard of that? Can you guys let me know in the audience? Have you ever heard of a chef working in a restaurant that they did not start being given part ownership or total ownership of the restaurant? Let me know, because I don't know what happens in that, right? But because of that lawsuit that was happening, hey Thomas, the sandwich shop was held up. But now that it has been dismissed, they can go forward with the sandwich shop. This is why you need to have all your business stuff ironed out so that you don't get holed up. Who knows? Maybe they wanted to have a grand opening a few months ago, but because of this lawsuit, they couldn't do it, right? So they had to get their ducks in a row, get the emails, make sure the paperwork was in order, high hope one, so that the judge could see, look, we never offered her partnership. We just were going to offer her a salary, right? But again, write down your contracts, okay? All right, for those of you just coming in, you are watching Who's Getting Sued. I am Natalie Pierre-Lewis, your host. I am a business and trademark attorney, and I'm here to teach you the concepts that you need to know to run a business like a boss. Brown Nudist said, no, I know Bobby Flay owns his stuff. Right, Bobby Flay owns his stuff because he started it. But do you think that if Bobby Flay was hired as a chef in another restaurant, that they would give him ownership? I mean, he's Bobby Flay for right now, so he could probably do it. But let's say he wasn't the Bobby Flay that we know, right? Gordon Ramsay, all of those people started their own restaurants. They weren't working for other people, right? All right. Okay, remove this and remove the studio. All right, next story. Y'all, the Drake versus Kendrick, or UMG, I should say, saga is finally over. I'm exhausted. I am exhausted. So of course we know Drake was trying to sue UMG because of Not Like Us. He was like, the label, they were out to ruin me, whatever. The case got dismissed this or last week, I should say. So again, Drake alleged that the lyrics portrayed him as a pedophile and that UMG promoted the song despite knowing it's untrue. The judge said that in the context of a rap battle, the statements were non-actionable opinions, not factual assertions. The judge said the heated creative exchanges often involve hyperbole and rhetoric, which a reasonable listener wouldn't interpret as literal truth. Basically, the judge said, this is the rap game, baby. What are you doing? And told Drake to go cry about it in the corner. So now remember Drake was suing for defamation and all those things, and the judge was basically like, look, this is what rap is about. Nobody believes that you're a pedophile. Nobody is going to take that stuff. Hey, Diamond Sweat Aquafina. Nobody takes that stuff seriously. If you can't handle the rap game, Drake, go sit down. Go cry about it. But ain't nobody giving you no money. Okay? So in terms of defamation, again, what you have to prove is that someone said something about you that was untrue and that it harmed you, right? Again, this was a rap battle. Have you ever watched some of the rap battles on YouTube? Those people are disrespectful. Disrespectful. Like I wouldn't even attend one because I would feel offended for the person who was who was rapping. These people, they will violate your whole life. So for Drake to do this is just that ain't hip hop, bro. That just ain't hip hop. But yeah, so that's over. UMG is safe, and Drake is still rich. He's fine. Excuse me. All right. Next story that we are talking about. How many of you guys have heard of that water brand called Liquid Death? If you have heard of the water brand called Liquid Death, Drake was introduced to street rap battles. Woo! Well, that tracks. That tracks. He can't hang in a rap battle. Okay, so if you have heard of Liquid Death Water, give me a water emoji. Okay. Diamond Sweat said, I'm getting sued. Elite. Diamond Sweat, that's something that you would have to talk to me in private about because I would need to know what the circumstances are. So use the link in my bio to book a free 15-minute consultation. Okay. Round Noonish said she's heard of Liquid Death. Okay. Anybody else heard of Liquid Death Water? Okay. So aside from Liquid Death, there is a coffee brand called Death Wish Coffee. Has anybody heard of Death Wish Coffee? Anybody heard of Death Wish Coffee? If you have, give me a coffee emoji in the comments, okay? Well, there's a battle happening between this coffee brand and this water brand, okay? Because apparently Liquid Death, the water brand, they're trying to get into the coffee game. And they are coming out with products like there's a drink they have called the Deathachino. And the people from Death Wish Coffee are saying that this could cause confusion with customers and dilute its identity, okay? Now, again, Liquid Death is a water brand currently. Death Wish Coffee is a coffee brand, right? But Liquid Death is now coming over into the coffee realm. And they have a drink that they are trying to name the Deathachino. So, Round Noonish, if you look on my YouTube, I have a photo up of the Liquid Death compared to the Death Wish Coffee. They actually kind of look similar. Okay. Now, prior to Liquid Death trying to come over into this coffee realm, it wasn't no smoke between them and Death Wish because you're not going to find water in the same shelf with the coffee drink. But now, because Liquid Death is coming over into the coffee area, and they and they have a specific style, the Death Wish coffee people are worried that it's going to infringe on their brand and cause dilution. Now, if you have the ability to do so, I would encourage you guys to Google Death Wish Coffee versus Liquid Death Water. And you will see the picture. Or if you can go to YouTube, I'm broadcasting right now. and you can see the two next to each other. They do have similar aesthetics, but it wasn't a problem before Liquid Death got into the coffee game, right? So now Liquid Death and Death Wish Coffee, they're having they're going to war, they're going to court. Liquid Death is like, look, there's plenty of other coffee brands out here that or drinks that use death in the name. They're like, it's not a problem. But I don't think it just has to do with the use of the word death. It's also the design of the cans. Again, I encourage you, look up Liquid Death versus Death Wish Coffee and look at the designs. They're very similar. For me, with the untrained eye as a consumer, I might think that these two brands are related if they were both doing coffee, right? So I can understand where Death Wish Coffee is coming from. Does anybody disagree with that? Round Nunes, did you take a look at the cans? Did you take a look at them? Let me know what your thoughts are. Okay. Yes. So Liquid Death and Death Wish Coffee, they're going to have a showdown. We're going to have to see what happens. But I do see Liquid Death kind of stepping on toes with this foray into the coffee. Let me add it to the stage. If you're looking at my YouTube, it's right up on the YouTube, or you can Google it. So because Round Noonish, she's familiar with Liquid Death. I haven't heard it. I haven't seen any of you say that you're familiar with Death Wish Coffee. Let me know when you see it, girl. Round Noonish. Oh yeah. Okay. And then after this, we have another coffee story that we're gonna cover. Like things are getting crazy in the coffee world, y'all. How many of y'all are coffee lovers? If you're a coffee lover, give me a coffee emoji. All right. So Round Noonish, hopefully you have seen. Okay, Round Noonish said they look exactly the same, and this is the problem that Death Wish Coffee has with Liquid Death. Round Noonish, as someone who's familiar with the brand, says they look exactly the same. Okay, so you can see why they're going to court. All right, so now let's get to our other coffee story. Ain't nothing I love better than a good cup of coffee in the morning. How many of y'all have heard of Chobani? And if you have heard of Chobani, what does Chobani make? If you have heard of Chobani, give me a yes. Well, if you have heard of Chobani, tell me what they make. What does Chobani make? What does Chobani make? What does Chobani make? What does Chobani make? What do they make? I know y'all know this. Come on. Mm-hmm. Yes, Round Noonish, they make yogurt, specifically Greek yogurt, okay? But again, like Liquid Death Coffee, Chobani, we don't just do yogurt, baby. We getting into the coffee game, okay? So basically, Chobani recently started a brand called La Colombe, okay? It is a coffee brand, and a coffee company, a French coffee company called Danone, said that the Chobani company basically copied their packaging. If you guys have seen the stock coffee, STOK coffee, it's like it's a cold coffee that you can find in the refrigerator section. If you have ever seen STOK coffee, please give me an STOK in the comments. That brand of coffee is under the Danone company, which is a French company, right? And they have a distinctive design. Chobani is now trying to get into the coffee industry as well, and they have their brand called La Colombe. And Danone is suing Chobani because of the use of the words bright and mellow, and the packaging design. Okay. So if you guys, thank you, Round Noonish. If you guys have a moment, look up Danone coffee versus Chobani coffee, and you will see what I am talking about. Okay. So the picture that I have, it's on YouTube right now. On the right, we have the stock cold brew coffee, and everybody's doing cold brew these days, and they describe it on the bottle it says bright and mellow. On the Chobani brand, the La Colombe, excuse me, the La Colombe, they also have bright and mellow on the package, right? So Danone is saying that there's a lot of money involved in here. Danone acquired the STOK brand for $12.5 billion in 2016, and Chobani bought the La Colombe brand from Keurig for $900 million. So everybody spent a coin on these coffee brands, which is why nobody really wants to back down. Okay, so Chobani is saying, look, people use the terms bright and mellow to describe coffee all the time. Okay, on top of the fact that Danone doesn't actually have a trademark for the phrase bright and mellow. Guys, this is why it's important for you to trademark, so that if somebody uses what's been your calling card, you don't just have to go cry about it to social media. You can go to the court and get it taken care of. If you have a registered trademark, you don't then have to prove to the courts that you own it, because you already have the trademark there. But because Danone does not have a trademark for bright and mellow, they have to show that it is integral to their brand. Okay. Now, again, Chobani is saying that competitors like Califia Farms use bright, mellow, and bright to describe their coffee, as well as Panera uses bright, balanced, and mellow. Okay. So I can understand why they might be worried, but the fact is, you did not take the step to protect that phrase. If it's so integral, if something is integral to your brand, you need to protect it. Okay, you've got to protect it. There are too many brands being started out here. Sometimes people just have the same idea, and it's just in your best interest to protect it early. Okay, so good luck to Chobani and Danone. But I also want you guys to let me know in the comments when you have a chance to go look at the photos. If you go watch the YouTube after, let me know if you think the designs are too similar. Okay, let me take this down. Okay, let me go back up here. Y'all having a good time? If you're having a good time, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. I'll be on here. I'll be hot, but I do this for you. Don't mind me. Okay. Do we have any Nelly or former Nelly fans or Saint Lunatics fans? I've talked about. Ranuna said they're different designs to me. Well, their biggest, the biggest issue that the Danone brand has is the use of the words bright and mellow, and not necessarily the packaging is one thing, but the wording is something that they're worried about. Okay. All right. Do we have any Nelly fans here? Saint Lunatics fans? Give it to Perth. Give it to Perth. So I told y'all, we talked about this a couple months ago. Murphy Lee from the Saint Lunatics has been trying to sue Nelly for some time over the lyrics Country Grammar. Basically, Murphy Lee said that he helped Nelly write Country Grammar. And, before Nelly hit it big, he said he was going to get Murphy Lee on the back end. Iceman album, I don't know who that is. Okay, excuse me. So Murphy Lee said, I helped him write Country Grammar. It was a big hit. He said he was going to get me on the back end. I ain't got my back ends yet, right? So he's been trying to sue Nelly for years. Here's the issue. The lawsuit has been dismissed. Why? Because one, the statute of limitations has passed. Okay. The song, I don't even remember when Country Grammar came out, but the song I think is over. I'm trying to remember. Okay, so when the song came out, I think it was like 2000. So it was 2025. The song is 25 years old. You have 3 years. Three. You have 3 years. Nelly gives you snake energy. Okay. You have 3 years from the time that you know of violated copyright to sue. Now, I'm going to give Murphy Lee some grace and say that, because that was his homeboy, they came up together. He probably thought, no, he's not going to leave me hanging. But unfortunately, in this day and age, I'm sorry, you can't count on your history as friends. You got to have that stuff written down, okay? So the first reason why the case failed because he missed the 3-year filing deadline, which began when Nelly's attorneys formally rejected his claims in 2021. So apparently, he went to the lawyers in 2021, said, run me some money. The lawyer said no, he did not go to court. Okay. So from that point, that's when the clock started running, not when the song came out, but when he claimed that his rights were violated, that's when the clock started. So 2021. Okay. So that means he had till 2024 to sue, and he didn't do it till 2025. Okay. Not only that, Murphy Lee was ordered to pay $1,000. Excuse me. Or Murphy Lee's attorneys were ordered to pay $1,000 to reimburse Nelly because they were basically trying to be shifty with dates and when things were filed. And the court was like, do you think we're stupid? Run this man some money because you're wasting our time. Okay. And yes. So the what you need to understand about this story is Murphy Lee could very well have helped Nelly write those lyrics. However, Murphy Lee waited too long to file. You have 3 years from the time you know of your copyrights being violated or when you say they've been violated to file a lawsuit, and he just waited too long. So, maybe Nelly is a snake. Maybe he does owe Murphy Lee some money, but Murphy Lee should have spoken up earlier. And that is why, why's my throat so scratchy? That is why, to preserve your friendship, if you are getting into any type of money situation with your friends, to preserve your friendships, you need to have contracts. You need to have written agreements as to what's going to happen. Because, who knows how long they were friends growing up, and now, you're 20, 25 years down the line, now you suing your homeboy? Like, it's sad. But, again, you got 3 years from the time you know of the violation to file an appropriate lawsuit. Okay? All right. Let me remove this. And okay, we are coming to our last 2 stories of the night. And this one is a cautionary tale because, in how to pick your team. And, just around noonish, if your friends don't want to sign contracts, they're not your friends. Do you know how many business ventures I've gone into with friends and we have written contracts? If you tell me as my friend that you want to go into business with me and you don't want to sign no contracts, we're not doing it. I don't trust you. Why can't we sign it? Why? Why? If you're not like, oh well, you look, I always frame it like this. If we have it written down on paper, they get Ron Nunes said friends don't like to sign contracts because they get offended. If you don't want to sign a contract so that we know what's going on in our business, I don't trust you, because you're going to need contracts regardless. You're going to need contracts for your clients. You're going to need contracts for other partners. You're going to have a contract if you need to have a lease for the business. So why is that person, your friend, above a contract? That's just how I see it. I'm trying to preserve our friendship. Like, okay, so I had a business deal with a friend. We were in business for a few years and things happened and we had to dissolve the business, right? But because we had a plan for how the business was dissolved, because things got crazy in my life, we were able to get everything done with a minimum of friction because it was already written down on that paper. We're still friends. We hang out all the time. It's not a big deal. Like, signing a contract is not saying I don't trust you. It's saying I value this relationship enough so that we have a plan for what happens if things don't go right. That's how I see it. Okay. All right. Do we have any Andra Day fans in his house? Andra Day. And I'll rise up. Something, I'll rise up. So I don't know all the words. Something, I'll rise up. Do not mind. You like Andra Day? Okay, well, your girl Andra Day, somebody stole her money, girl. Okay, so let me read this to you. Andra Day is currently in a bitter legal battle with her ex-manager, accusing him of stealing $1.6 million from her and leaving her facing eviction and unable to tour. Okay. Her manager is denying the claims and countersuing for unpaid royalties. So here, let me give you some more background. Okay. So, in a high-profile legal baseline company sued Day. All right. So her management company sued her on October 6th, claiming that she owes them about $850,000 under agreements from 2011 to 2023. After they filed that lawsuit, Andra Day filed her lawsuit against the person, her manager, saying that he stole more than $1.6 million, misappropriating funds intended for her album recording and keeping payments that should have gone to her business manager, disguising expenses and traveling extravagantly at her expense. She claims this left her financially devastated with over $300,000 in credit card debt, facing eviction, and unable to fund touring activities. Her filing seeks to terminate contractual obligations, giving Evans' company substantial percentages of her profits, plus damages and attorney's fees. Evans denies the allegations. He says that they're baseless, right? So, basically, I understand that creatives aren't necessarily the best when it comes to business, but you need to know where the dollars are going, okay? It's easy to get caught up as a creative because you want to make the art, but you need to have somebody who you trust, some type of legal professional, not just a manager, not the label's legal team, but you need your own legal representation to make sure that they're not getting over on you. Have your own accountant. Brown Jr. said, I knew things would get shady with her after she won that Golden Globe for playing Billie Holiday. Brown Jr. said they saw the money. Yeah, they saw the money and they took it. I feel like they tried to do her like TLC. So Andre, she's basically saying she doesn't have money to go on tour. She's about to lose her place where she lives. She can't record her album. That's a lot. And she's very successful. And if that can happen to someone like that, why it can happen to you if you're not careful. When you are a creative and you're getting into business with someone, if you have management, things like that, you can't just set it and forget it. You still need to be involved. You need to know what's going on. You need to know where the money's going so they're not getting over on you, okay? And I understand sometimes all of that paperwork can be scary. That's why you need to come to a legal professional who is a third party, who is not involved in that relationship, so that they can look at it from, an objective view and understand what's going on. So I really feel bad for Andre. You know, she's young, she's successful. Hopefully she can get some of her money recouped. Oh my gosh, I'm so parched. All right. So now this is our last story of the evening. Whew. And it has this is a follow-up on the Hulk Hogan story I did a few weeks ago. So a few weeks ago, I told you that Hulk Hogan's son was trying to sue someone who was trying to do a documentary on his father, most of which centered around a tape where, Hulk Hogan was doing the horizontal polka. They have recently settled that lawsuit, even though the terms remain, they don't know exactly what the terms were, okay? So instead of having the court decide whether the documentary could come out, Hulk Hogan's son and the person who wants to produce this docuseries, they have come to a settlement on their own. Now, I feel like what happened is they probably ran Hulk Hogan's son a coin to be quiet on the side, and they're going to come out with it. I wouldn't be surprised if this docuseries come out. I don't know how much was left in Hulk Hogan's, how much he left in his estate, but, we'll see. But just so you know, the Hulk Hogan lawsuit over the docuseries that was supposed to come out, it has been settled. So they're no longer going to court about it. But they haven't released the terms. So I'm wondering if this docuseries is still going to come out, because they said that it's fair use. The story was out there. Okay. All right. So those were the stories that I wanted to share with you guys this evening. They don't want the truth to come out. I mean, we already know he's a racist. Those are the stories that I wanted to share with you guys tonight. Thank you guys for your participation. I'm going to check the DMs to see who sent me the photo. If you were one of the first three, I'm going to look at the timestamp to see when they were stamped, when they were sent, and I will pick the top 3 people for their free 30-minute session. Okay. So that's what I want to leave you guys with. Take care of yourselves. I will be back next week with more stories. If you have anything you want me to talk about, please send it to my inbox and I got you. Okay. Good night. Bye.